I'm not a huge fan of Mac and Jack either, though. I mean,
It's all right. You're talking to be wrong.
it's not bad. I like Irish Death better than I do Mac and Jack.
All right, that's fair.
Personal taste and all that.
I don't know. When I drank, it was always Guinness.
The thing that always bothered me, when I first moved here to Washington, the first beer they gave me was Red Hook.
Oh.
And I was like, what is this? And then I got Mac and Jack. I was like, this is an improvement. But I like a maltier beer, so the Irish Death works
The
for me
best
a
thing I
little
can
better.
say about Red Hook is that it's drinkable.
Boy,
When you're already drunk?
You're
really low.
You are stretching the bounds of truth there, I think.
I spent 18 to 21 drinking mostly Busch Light, so
Ooh.
Ooh, okay.
Brother, I was stuck
Rough.
drinking Black Label from 15 to 19. I know your pain, I promise.
there's a lot of crap beer in the mix there.
No,
We used to buy 6 packs of Black Label for $1.99 a piece, and we would pay $3 for them because the guy had to buy them for us, at the store. We paid $3 a 6-pack for Black Label.
Ugh.
God awful.
no, when I started drinking, it was Old English.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think the last
It
time
is made by ringing out Old Englishmen.
Yeah, I think the last time I ever drank malt
Yeah, it
liquor
tastes
was
like
when I drank like
colonization
an
and
80
pain.
degree. It was sitting in the truck all day. Steel Reserve.
Oh, no.
This is all we got. You got
Tapping out of that one.
if you're gonna drink, this is what we got. But nah, I'd rather.
I would rather be
so
sober.
just need somebody pissed in a can first.
Wait, was this when you were younger?
Yeah, I was like 18, 19.
Oh, so you
Too-
still
did
dumb
have-
about
Too
liquor.
old or too young to buy my own alcohol.
Yeah.
I was drinking whatever.
You can find other people. Like,
You know that-
find
that
better
beer
friends
that
at
shows up-
18.
Yeah, that beer that shows up in your camp because someone else is, will you guys drink this because you guys drink? And then we go, oh God, even
Oh,
we aren't
no.
going to drink it.
Yeah,
Keep it around for that
my
guy.
first time camping with Gremlin, that box of random alcohol showed up, and I'm just sitting watching everybody, and I'm like,
Oh, that shit that Trish.
oh no, this is years ago. It had
There is
it
not
had-
just one event where random alcohol
it
is
had Natty Ice and Ice House in it,
Oh,
and I'm just sitting there going, who's gonna be the dumbass?
But I hate
And
when
no
people
one
bring those
touched
types
it.
of
And I'm like,
beers.
okay, if this house won't drink it, what is it? And I'm
no,
like,
I would touch Ice House
Oh,
only to throw it at Spears.
See, I know people
Throw
who
it
would
at
bring
Spears?
that
For target
just
practice.
to play King's Cup
Not Spears at it.
Yeah.
and to toss it in
No.
the middle.
Spear the beer.
Right.
You put on a helmet, you grab a
Right.
spear, and then you
I know, I'm picturing you throw
So
spear at
it-
the beer, not the other way around.
either, both, yes, axes, whatever.
No,
Same
I both
thing.
work though. I just
Yeah.
never really.
It gets explodey when it gets warm.
No.
Statute of limitations.
This is bad. This is bad. I'm 40. I'm 47 now. Nobody's going to prosecute me. I'm 14 years old. My mom's out of town. My dad's working this weird odd third shift thing, right? There's a half gallon of George Dickel sour mash bourbon in my house.
Nope.
And I get this wise ass idea to sit down, crack it open, make myself a drink, and talk to my buddies on the phone and hang out. And I do this for about 3 hours. And I look up, and there's about this much left in this bottle. I'm 14 years old. I'm a $1.45 soaking wet at that point in my life. And I'm like, this is going to suck when I stand up.
Yep.
So I stand up, and the floor is running away from me. And I'm having a hard time thinking, okay, I'm like, the shortest distance to a bed is mom and dad's room, but I'm very drunk. I need to eat something. So my genius ass idea thinks I'll get some frozen pizzas, those dollar frozen pizzas, mash 2 of them together, microwave them, eat it real quick, lay down, go to bed. And that's what I did. I hand over hand across the bar, across the couch, across the wall, get into the bed, lay down, and pass out. My dad wakes me up, and I'm very moist. And I'm lying on my back like this in a puddle of vomit and blood this big around. And the old man says, get up, change the sheets, flip the mattress, put new sheets on, get them in the wash, take a shower, lay back down. I do all this. No sooner than my head hits the pillow, my dad says, get up, we're going to go fishing. I'm like, all right, screw it, we're going to go fishing. So I get up and I load the boat in the back of the truck, this little 10-foot John boat. He drives over to the liquor store. Now, my parents were such alcoholics that the liquor store owner in the town we lived in, mind you, it was, a quarter horse town. It wasn't even a one horse town. Would leave a key on the back porch for my old man to unlock the door to go inside. He'd get a bottle, leave money on the counter, and leave. And lock the door back up again. So he gets what we call an ass pocket of whiskey, which is a little half-pint bottle you put in the back pocket of your ass pocket of your jeans. And he gets it, he puts it in his pocket, and we go down to the lake. Now this is near the Georgia swamp in August. Now, until about 9 o'clock, shit's cool. 9 o'clock, the sun comes up, and it's 94 degrees. It's 100% humidity. Now, understand, 100% humidity means you are literally gurgling when you breathe. And I'm okay until the rocking of the boat on the water and my eyeballs line up. And I'm getting sicker, and I'm just turbo vomiting off the back of the boat for like 3 hours. I'm checking the water for my toenails. I'm convinced they've come flying out with the rest of this vomit. And my old man is sitting in the back of the boat. And every time the boat turns and the wind shifts where it's blowing from his side of the boat to mine, he pulls that bottle out and he cracks literally everything, and he goes, and he blows the fumes down on me. And I turn green and hurl again.
Yep.
Now he sits me in this damn torture device, this floating coffin, for 9 hours in the blazing sun. And all he gives me to drink is Kool-Aid. No real water, just Kool-Aid. Oversaturated, oversugared. So, of course, I'm drinking it because I'm so desperate and I'm just vomiting nonstop. I'm thinking I might be better off drinking the damn lake water at this point. But we get done 8 hours. I am burnt to within a quarter inch of my life. I am so hungover. I am convinced I have died. And this is what zombification is. We pull up to the damn dock. I get off the boat. I grab the boat. He makes me load the damn boat by myself back in the car. I put it all up in the car. I sit down in the truck, and he looks at me and he goes, "I trust we don't have to discuss this any further, do we?" And I looked at him and I said, "This is worth the ass whipping of the grounding. You are a son of a bitch." And he looked at me and goes, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And drove home.
I believe that's the fifth circle of hell.
That's why I don't drink brown liquor to this day. The minute somebody cracks that bottle, I go, "Ooh, no."
Man, Dante looked at that and go, "Dude, back off."
Yeah. Like I said, I think that's, gluttony's the fifth circle, right? Oh.
Maybe just applying for his future job for after he dies.
Well,
Yeah.
it's not my favorite, but it's the funniest one that I've heard from a third person. I remember being there, but it was apparently funnier for the people watching. And Connor doesn't drink anymore. And he tells it the best, even still. But so, again, many years ago, we were like 2021, so 2009-ish, 2008, something like that, back when beer pong was still a big thing. And this was back before it was like safe.
This is not ending.
This facial expression.
Yeah. Sorry, old man. You want me to go get your cane or?
Yeah.
Fuck you, we can leave. You bar mine.
So back at this point, beer pong was the thing you did. Back, apparently it wasn't enough to just drink. You had to drink aggressively, competitively. And we came in all fucking, hot in our britches, like we're gonna fucking rule this beer pong game because we were pretty good, whatever. But we came into their house, and Connor, who was drunk, I was driving, I was not. So I was like, okay, fine, you got to catch up, which usually turns into a sprint, which usually that's it.
Yeah.
So
It's always the end.
he's like, no, fuck you. We're so good. We're going to play not 2 beer pong, not 3 beer pong, not 4 beer pong, 5 beer pong. So that's 5 beers to a side in 12 or 16-ounce cups. So they're, 16-ounce cups, half full each. We got fucking skunked. We got, all of our cups were sunk, which we all had to drink. And since we lost, we had to drink almost all. I think we got 2 of theirs. So that's 18 8-ounce beers that we had to chug, and Connor did a little less than half. I chugged the other half, and I wasn't even drunk. I was just so full. I was like, okay, I finished it. Shouldn't have finished it, because I immediately had to throw up because of just the sheer liquid
Volume.
pressure.
Yeah.
And apparently, from his perspective, I walked outside, like kicked the door open. It's like, if I don't go outside, I'm gonna throw up inside, so I'm gonna go outside. And from his words, it looked like a fucking super soaker. And it's the only time in my life that I've ever thrown up and it was cold coming back up.
Oh.
Wow.
And that was the thing too. Apparently, I made like a fucking like a Superman pose too, just super soaker. Which I vaguely remember, but there was like no bending over. I'm like standing straight up, and it's just
That pressure was already there. You didn't have to do anything else.
My favorite drunk story was I was right out of high school. I was in a band. We were in practice space. And my bass player had acquired a box of Jaeger. The 750s. I was a Jaeger whore. I had a bottle of Rumpel. So I'm, sitting by the drum kit, just
Sounds awful.
getting wasted. And we're not getting anything done. 2 bottles of Jaeger in, we suddenly decide we're writing an album tonight. But we hit about halfway through the album, and you can tell I'm not even using drumsticks. It's just me slapping shit with my hands. They dropped me off at my house. This is like 4 or 5 hours later. I wake up the next morning.
you got
My
some meat
hands
sausages.
are bloody as heck.
You
My,
see,
my
I
palms
feel
are
like
all
this is how
torn
Hero
up.
Torpedo started.
My left palm had, not kidding, the imprint of the rim of my snare in it.
oh,
I go back and I'm like, oh, that fits perfectly.
yeah.
I'm like, was I doing rim shots with my hand?
That's
Yeah.
like me walking up to my tent stake and going, yeah.
You've definitely seen me at events where I will literally beat my hands bloody because it sounds like fucking.
And because it's fun.
Yeah, it's also fun, but also their drum circle's terrible. So terrible.
So much.
I can hear you from half a mile away, and it sounds like shoes in a fucking dryer.
Yeah.
You just want to pull out a drum and start
Yeah,
just a
I've
simple tapping rhythm.
literally done that.
Open
Like,
your
Yeah.
phone,
here
turn your
is
metronome
the beat.
on.
Yeah.
Here is the beat. Literally nothing else.
And
Here
the look
is
on his
the beat.
face is like he's a parent teaching a child the basics of like how to keep that beat, and he doesn't stop looking like the father figure. Just how he became like grandpa.
Yeah, Grandpa.
Right? Yeah, it's like because come on, children, here's the basics. There was an event an SCA event where I was wandering around, and it was one of those really good nights at an event where you end up having like random side quests here and there. And this particular one, I wanted to go dancing, so I found the drum circle, and the guys suck so bad. So then I was I knew an NPC back there who said he wanted a drum circle. Not you, because you were doing your own thing. But there was somebody at the coffee stand who brought a drum. He wanted to be able to play with other people. He didn't know where to find other people. I went, so then I had to go find the guy to like lead him and keep him safe through the camp to where the drum circle was, because he could keep a beat, because I already tested him when I first met him to make sure he was worth remembering. I'm very
That's the
picky
important
about
bit.
this.
Are you're a drummer? Great. Are
Prove
you
it.
good?
Yeah, prove it.
Like, can you hold
Yeah.
a beat?
So when I got to the drum circle, they didn't know what they're doing. I'm like, I'll fix this. And I went and got the guy and brought him back. I'm like, so here's the thing. They suck. They just need someone to keep the beat for them. So you have your work cut out for you. Here you go. Sure enough, that actually worked. They just needed someone to get it going.
That's all.
Gaming topic.
All right.
TJ and I got into the whole, damn it, you can't kill the players conversation. But I'm not going to stop them committing suicide.
Oh no.
Yeah.
The week following that, at my gaming table,
No, it was the day after.
the day after,
It was the next day.
it turned into a fucking bloodbath. And I am not going to let that albatross get hung around my neck. But it went bad. And honest to God, it went bad to the point where it was going to go bad. And the players didn't do a very good job. And I tried twice to save their little nappy asses from themselves, and they didn't want to listen to me. Well, two of them didn't want to listen to me. And so they went, and I was like, all right, great. So we retired the party. We stopped that campaign module. We retired the party, and we moved on. And I'm talking to the masters. I'm like, okay, what are we going to do next, guys? Where are we going to go? What do we want to play? Modern, ancient, high fantasy, low fantasy, Cthulhuid, modern, zombie. What do you want to do here? We have a very easy system we work with. We can play anything we want to play. What do you want to do? And it occurred to me at that moment, as I looked at my players, that we are not going to be able to make a damn cogent decision. All I'm trying to say is that I've got this party of people now that with this new game they got, everybody died.
Sure.
I'm starting the new game. They can't agree on the damn game. I finally get one going, and they're all going in different directions, and they're all going different directions at the same time. And I'm looking at it going, okay, what am I going to do to pull this back together again? I have two choices. I can press reset button again. I can push them away and start over again, or I can keep on trying to muddle my way through what I'm doing. And I've got 3 distinct camps of people at the table who are deciding they want to do it a different way.
What consequences are you giving them for going different directions?
We were carjacked by zombies.
Well,
Okay.
honestly, I mean, they're...
The kids these days have a phrase for that. It's called DME, though.
Yeah.
My dilemma is, do I push them all in one bucket and pull them one direction?
Why?
Or do I let them commit suicide?
Well, I don't see it as a simple dichotomy of those two choices. I mean, they're, if you look at it from a purely literary standpoint, you can do things with characters in radically different venues doing different things that hopefully eventually ties back, but that's kind of on that ad hocness of a role-playing game. That's only a hope that they'll eventually end up in the same place. Maybe they never do. Maybe you finish your storylines with the player characters having never met each other. That's a viable solution. There's no reason why you have to tell a single coherent story when you can tell 4 interconnected stories all at the same time.
How much success have you had telling 4 stories to 4 different people at 4 different times?
Very, very well. Yeah, I mean, for instance, if you're trying to run a classic World of Darkness game, but you've got a vampire, a mummy, a mage, and another vampire, but there is no plausible reason you could ever put all of them in the same room. It just doesn't work, and it's stupid to attempt it. Besides that, they're all working with radically divergent cosmologies and meta mechanics. So why would you? But you can still tell a singular, coherent story on an overarching plot line for all 4 of those characters. They can share NPCs. They can share spaces at different times, but never in the same room at the same time.
That actually sounds kind of fun.
If the story works in a way that puts them together, fantastic. If it doesn't, so be it as well. I mean, you can look at, take something highly popular like Game of Thrones. You've got Daenerys on the other side of the world for most of the story. And that's a viable, fantastic storyline that you can tell her story, you can tell this guy's story, this person's story, all simultaneously happening in different places. You have some characters that are interacting back and forth between all of them. Is it... The challenge is that if you're going to sit down and run that kind of game, you cannot pre-plan. You can't plan too much. And that's always, that's true for any game. If you plan too much, you're just setting yourself up for disaster. You just kind of have to fucking wing it and make it work. And work each character as their own storyline.
The
Yeah.
world events are shared though, so there's,
Yeah.
Have you talked to the players to see if they actually want to have a group thing or if they want to go their own way? Because if they want a group thing, they have to take part in that.
My problem that I run into is that if I start doing a storyline with TJ,
Sure.
you end up on your phone babbling with your friend the entire time. You end up wandering around the kitchen like a jackass. You end
Yeah,
up going
yes,
outside
okay.
for an hour and a half, and then you're standing there the whole time going, "I'm bored."
Sure, and you know there is that risk. You know, it also, or you run the risk of being just completely frantic and schizophrenic as you're literally bouncing from scene to scene to scene, you know, around the table, and yeah, everyone's getting, you know, 2.5 minutes, and then on to this person for 2.5 minutes, and then back to here, now over to here, now here, back to here, and yeah, it can get severely clusterfucky. I'm not arguing that.
Winging the storylines is a problem
Sure.
for me. For me, the problem is that
Is maintaining a cohesive level of engagement of everyone at the table.
that and a storyline that I think would make sense on a cosmic scale, if you will.
Sure.
Okay. I've always been a fan of when party members decide they want to kill each other, I just let them kill each other and walk away. Because I don't want to have to deal with that dynamic. I like having people working together in one group.
What if they have
Sure.
One
radios?
direction. Huh?
What if they have radios and they can still communicate? They're just not in the same space. So they could still have a goal, a common goal, going to different like communication towers and whatever it is that they have to do. They can still go their own path, but still have one common thing.
And those are all ideas too that, you know, work on every level as far as that goes. But I guess my question is do you find it easier to bring them together, or do you like running them separately? As a general rule,
As a
on you.
general rule, I much prefer, yes, definitely prefer a cohesive group in relative proximity, or maybe 2 cohesive groups in relative proximity. You know, having 5 players in 5 different locations is definitely a nightmare. And especially if things start getting asynchronous, where you're like, well, I'm going to travel over to here. Well, okay, well, you traveling from point A to point B is a non-issue and non-narrative part of the story. Nothing happens, you travel over there. Well, except for that's, you know, takes a day and a half. So now you're fundamentally in a time frame a day and a half ahead of him, you know, or so on and so forth. And that can definitely be, you know, problematic. It can also be a fantastic way to foreshadow a scene for him, because she's already in the after events of his scene. You know, so there are ways to play through that. It's not something I would necessarily want to do with any particular group of players. I'd have to be very selective of who, but I mean that comes down to any game that you're running. You kind of go, this is not for you, or this is not, you know, this is not a fucking dungeon crawl, you know. But yeah, there are definitely ways of doing it. Personally, I would prefer if I could get everyone in the same place at the same time. But, you know, sometimes that doesn't happen. You know, I'm actually a pretty avid hater on the you all meet in the tavern and get hired to do the adventure. You know, no, everyone has their own backstories, their own place in this world. And hopefully within the first 6 to 10 gaming sessions, I can get you all together and doing a thing, you know. But that is on me as the game master, and you know that storyteller is making your character fit into this world. You know, some of that is on you as the player to build the character that could live in this world, but I have to give it roots. I have to make it fit, and then make everything fit together and go forward for a cohesive narrative.
Do you limit your characters what they can build?
It depends on the game. I mean, it depends on what we're playing. You know, I mean, you know, if you're talking like a D&D game, you know, sometimes yeah, because I'm a big fan of going, okay, no, you know, we're gonna, you know, this game is going to be fundamentally an inquisition. So you can play whatever you want, but this is your deity, and you can be a cleric or a paladin. That's it, because that's the storyline. You know, or you can go, you can play whatever you want, but you're an elf, and you're from this clan, and it's, you know, this noble house of elves, and our storyline is the fall of that noble house. And will you fall gracefully, or will you sacrifice everything that you claim to believe in to try and preserve that house for as long as possible? Yeah, you know, it
Throwing
depends.
a tiefling in would screw that up. So
You know, so that, you know, it depends on, again, what kind of a story are the players looking for. You know, something as simple as, you know, a zombie apocalypse, that doesn't actually tell me what the story is. That just tells me that they're going to be, you know, zombies. But you know,
background, not a story.
if I'm
I
like,
created the story and I created
You know,
the location, and I let them write their own story.
sure.
and what causes the zombies and all that can be different. So
Right.
Well, that come along. They're figuring that as they go
Yeah.
You
along.
know,
But I mean, the point
and
is-
that's where, you know, I'm getting at is if I say, okay, you know, so we're doing a zombie, you know, it's a zombie apocalypse style game, okay, but is this a very combat intensive? Is this you know, a selection of introspection and personal horror, and you know, or is this intrigue? You know, if we're trying to figure out, you know, who, what, where, when, why, how, you know, on those, you know, there's more to you know, that initial conceptualization. I think I agree. A lot of the story is going to be figured out by the players and at the table. Because, again, I'm not a huge fan of pre-planning a whole lot, you know. But at least having an idea as to what the players actually want, or what I want, the story I want to tell or direct, you know, gives me a lot more. It gives me a lot more freedom, actually, for making sure that I can tell 4 stories that are coherent and that everyone's engaged, because it's what they actually want to play. You know, and there's some elements of that, you know, especially if you're like just going, yeah, fuck it, let's play D&D. I've got a weekend or a weeknight free, and let's just wing it. Well, you know, you can look at what feats they took, what class, what race. All of that's going to tell you right there what they want to play. You know, if you've got a whole bunch of, you know, rogues with lots of bluff and okay, well, we're clearly playing, you know,
a heist movie.
Yeah, we're playing a heist movie. This is Ocean's 11 Fantasy Edition. You know, if everyone's just a freaking combat monster,
Yeah, and this Conan the Barbarian.
we're playing Conan the Barbarian. Yeah. You know, there's, you know, just from character generation, you can get a lot of information about what that player actually wants to play just by looking at their character sheet.
Yeah, you got 8 fucking clerics. You're gonna do a lot of fucking.
You know, but there's you know, there are fun ways of taking, you know, some of that and completely turning it on its head, and suddenly you have, you know, your Conan the Barbarian party trying to do Ocean's 11, and so really what you get is a very bloody Three Stooges movie, you know, and everyone can have a great time,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
Full contact Three Stooges. Now that's something I'd watch.
With D12, bam.
I'm
That'd
coming
be
to a
hilarious.
point now where with one or possibly two of my players, I think you need to go find somebody else.
Yeah, there's always that challenge where it's like maybe what they want, is just either not what anyone else at the table wants, or it's just not the story you want to tell. You've done that story 1,000 times. You don't want to tell it again. It doesn't. We can dress it up in, Elven. We can paint it blue. It doesn't matter.
Who are tripping the entire party on. This is the 4th or 5th run now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I always, generally talk about that there is so much more involved in a game than anything that has to do with dice and paper, and the dynamics of at the table. And yeah, I've had a player that had the attention span of a fucking weasel on crack. He couldn't even finish a sentence before he was like, oh, and then I saw this meme. And I'm like, okay, but could you act like you started to talk about what you were going to do, you picked up a die, and then you changed subject. Like, just roll just drop the fucking die. Fine, you pass. Okay, he's dead. Moving on. Whatever. You know?
I had a DM who just wouldn't let you have phones out at the table and wouldn't let the party split up because that particular party apparently had a history of doing that and it was just, I think, maybe too much work, or just they couldn't live through it or something, but the party dividing was enough of an issue for so many times. Maybe there's arguments because of it, I'm not sure. So he just made it, nope, you have to be within so many feet of each other or there are consequences of some kind.
That's micromanagement on a
Yeah,
ridiculous.
Yeah, but I think he was also, I think he was dealing with those particular players, but it also got to the point where it also limits what you can do. So, you want to go do research, so we're all going to go sit in the library, isn't actually giving everyone a chance to explore the character.
That's not intelligent as far as how you're going to run the game.
I would walk away from
but I think but I think he was also trying to get the players to realize that what they were doing by dividing wasn't necessarily helping them either. And so trying to find that middle ground of, if they want to be able to divide and they want to be able to have their own separate stories, and that's what everyone wants, then they have to realize that those are separate paths and they're not going to be there to help each other, and that's the path, what they've chosen.
I love Eureka rolls. I got players who are playing fighters, and they go with the brainiacs into the libraries, and they pick up a book and they start flipping pages, and I say, roll your dice, and they drop a dice and they get a good roll, and I go, you have a Eureka moment. What does that mean? Hey, does this mean anything? And to me, it's just a nice way to keep them engaged in other activity otherwise wouldn't be engaged in.
Sure.
But I'm running across now with the guys I've got now that problem where I've got to a point where I'm almost going to look at my players and I think you guys need to go find another table or people because I'm not doing it and you're not doing it, and it's just.
I mean, and that's always one of those things is it's not necessarily a issue of, oh, I don't like you or I don't like gaming with you, but in this group, you are the odd man out that is fucking with the dynamic, and it's not personal, but
it is.
But it is.
But inevitably
it is because
personal.
literally no one else is having fun because you.
But inevitably it ends up turning into a real personal. It feels like you're being, jumped.
Well, it is personal because, and nobody's gaming style is the same. But you can find people who you can mesh with, and then there's always that one fluke where you're like, yeah, you come game with us, you game, we game, it fits, right? Clearly, that's how this works. And then you sit down in your game, and that isn't how it works.
That isn't how it works.
It's not. That's not a thing.
And you're sitting over there with a screen going.
Yeah, so it's not personal, but it is personal at the same time because I don't dislike you,
Right.
but we don't game well together.
Right. And part of the challenge is okay, for me, I actually don't particularly enjoy video game role-playing games. I will play them because I really fucking suck at first-person shooters, and so I can play third-person action RPGs.
Reasonably well.
So yeah. But to me, when I'm running a tabletop role-playing game, there's maybe the completion of a story arc or an overarching story, but there's not a win. You don't win. There's no winning. There's no losing. There's just
You did it. You go retire.
like maybe
You made your choices.
they're
Things happen.
just.
I have a lot of folks.
It's
that
an
are convinced
ongoing
to do
narrative.
this
You
shit.
did
Yeah.
the things.
We told a story together. This is the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of I want to win players. A lot of people who just want to see the numbers get bigger, and it's always a fight. When you have players who aren't doing that and players who are
Yeah,
doing that
and
at the
it's-
same table, you're just like,
Playing
Yes.
with those people drives me nuts.
Well,
I don't care if I'm at a tabletop game. I don't care if I win or lose. I like the story.
Yeah.
You get 4 or 5 people in, like the one game we had going.
Yeah, there.
I don't know shit about the comic book world. Don't know a thing about the Marvel world and all that.
Right.
That was one of the most fun games I've ever been on because it was like whole new. You got to figure all this shit out. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I
There's.
enjoyed the hell out of that.
I mean, I absolutely will say there is, there is a time and place for that murder hobo game.
Yeah, like a one-off. We're in
murder hobos. Fun.
Couple
We got
sessions.
6 hours.
fundamentally, like just rolling around, taking odd jobs, killing things, complete missions. That is pretty much the entirety of Shadowrun. That is what that game is, But we all know when you sit down, that's what we're playing. That is the game. Get a job from Mr. Johnson.
The old DJ
Rage.
Cyberpunk was the same way.
Yeah.
How to tell one of your boyfriends you don't want to you don't want to game with him anymore.
It's not you, it's me, but it's also you.
Yeah.
It's not you, it's me. I can't stand how you game.
We had a player.
You hobby wrong.
We had a player at.
That's a wonderful statement. I like that. You hobby wrong. I really like that word.
So I've been watching some YouTube videos about like how to be a good GM because I'm like trying to get started on that, and one of them had like the 9 different versions of GMs and the different styles and how different players would actually like different GMs more, because some have the focus on the rules and you want the rules to be very specific, and some want like the storyline is more about the story and the players just happen to be in it, and some are more about I made a world and the players are really the story and stuff like that. And maybe just having that like a sit down with your players and say, what is everyone's goal? What do you want from the game? And it turns out 5 out of 7 of you said this seems like we're on the same page. Seems like you two aren't. Maybe they can break up with the party on their own. I think if you're looking to be a murder hobo, I want to know you're looking to be a murder hobo. If you want to go steal stuff and build a
She's talking about the difference between, we're not talking about the character, we're talking about the player. What do you as the player want out of this game?
Fair enough.
And if their goal is, I want to hit stuff all the time because that's fun for me, versus I want to see if I can go and have political intrigue, and you're going to be designing a game that is after one kind of player, and there's these 2 that really are not in that. Maybe if they have that discussion as a group, they'd hear most of these people want this kind of thing, political intrigue, right? And these 2 just want to hit stuff, and it's not going to make sense together. And maybe as a group, you decide this makes sense to part ways. And it's not really you going, I break up with you. This just isn't a good time to continue together.
I've been in this relationship for 5 years. You're not dumping me!
Actually, no,
One of the
I know those
12-year-old
two are-
relationship.
They're not leaving.
You might have to say, it appears from my perspective, even though you say you want world building, it seems to me you want murder hobo because that's all you've been doing.
We were on a break!
Like, if you don't want kids,
I like
If you don't
that.
want murder hobo
Yeah.
kids, you should leave.
no, I'm saying if you don't want kids, like, don't tell me you don't want kids, and then keep like poking holes in the fucking condoms. Like you're showing me one thing and saying another.
I love the
Colorado.
visuals.
I think
Especially
you had
given
a
the
Florida-
people I'm
what
talking
the fuck,
about.
Jerry?
I'm like, wow.
I'm back on the kids thing as an example. I don't know any other. The base
That's-
thing of
that's the
relationships,
basics.
right? Like that's when you
It's a
go.
pretty, yeah.
This is or is not ever going to be. A
I
thing.
think like, can we stand to be in the same room? Is like that's the base level of a relationship.
That is a good
Maybe
starting
you
point.
should move past
But
that.
when
Like,
we're going on the breaking up on a long-term relationship.
okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
you know.
no, we've gone past that. Okay, they're already
All
in
right.
the same room.
All right, I just,
Already
yeah.
the same
Like,
room,
yeah,
we know
like,
everybody's
We're
middle
like the
names.
6-month mark. Like, are we gonna make this a real thing?
Yeah, they've already had enough breakups and getting back together, and breaking up and getting back together because you've restarted your campaign so many times.
It's more just like, am I going to worry about making you guard for the next event and packing for you? Or are we not doing that?
Just change your Facebook status to no longer DMing for Bill.
He's super asinine, passive aggressive. No longer DMing for you to asshats.
Yep.
Uh,
Alternately,
Beautiful.
maybe that day and time just suddenly doesn't work for you anymore, but it does for everyone but those two another time.
It's okay. We can game on Tuesday nights. Just the three of us.
Like, oh, that doesn't
No.
work for you?
No,
I'm sorry.
like, look, I mean,
At that point, I would just sit them down and be like, "You two aren't working out for this particular campaign."
Or just send them the link to this video.
Ugh. I don't want to get into that conversation.
If you receive this link, it
Sit them
means
down
we
and
want to
pull
break
the whole.
up.
It's not you, it's me. Oh.
Yes.
So if you could just not come back to the gaming table, that'd be great.
Oh, even better. Even better. You go buy a bunch of roses. You get everyone at the table and you hand them out, but you're short two.
Oh no.
That hurts. That makes my
great.
soul
Can we-
itch a little bit.
Can we do that though?
routine.
Could you imagine
No.
their faces? You two would love it.
You are heartless. It's heartless and soulless. That's how it works.
Yeah. 4 years later.
Sounds like a really bad name for a cover band.
Yeah.
Terrifying
With opposite
covers of
hearts.
80s love ballads.
You start with that core journey and then.
Oh,
What was that
no.
fucking-
so like, okay,
Commercial from, like, the
they're called Bon Jovi. They're a band, okay? Jesus, people.
Leave them alone.
But everybody knows that infomercial from like the late 90s, early 2000s, the love ballads of. You know the one.
Yeah.
You know the one.
I think the problem that I'm having right now with the situation that I'm in personally is the fact that am I willing to give up on them or not?
Maybe it's setting them free.
Yeah. At the same time, you're 100% right. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's also the fact that I've got 3 people who are here and 2 people who are there. What can I do to bring them up to where these people are at? Or maybe it just
Is it worth your time and effort?
let it go.
Yeah, I think part of the challenge is because so much of gaming it is awkwardly but truthfully an emotional investment in that game, in those characters, in that story.
Yep.
That it's not a matter of, dude, you can't play Monopoly with us because you're,
You flip the board.
it really is breaking up with that, and or that there's a lot more emotional investment, and so, but at the end of the day, it is still just a game.
Yeah.
So you also need to step back from that and go, well, telling these people that they're not working with this group. It is by the same token not telling them that they're horrible people and we can't be friends anymore. It's just going, no, dude.
But part of it also
Find a different-
also comes to the point where you think where or in my head I'm going, okay, I don't dislike you, but the minute I tell you that I don't want to game with you anymore, I don't value you anymore as a person.
You're not
Because-
valuing them by hiding it.
You're right.
Like,
But-
respect them enough to have a conversation.
Well, and I would love to respect them enough to have that conversation, but I don't think I'm dealing with an emotional maturity level enough to understand that respect.
Again, link to this video.
The problem.
I don't think you're wrong.
What?
I think you're 100% right.
Are you insinuating that gamers may be emotionally stunted and socially awkward? Never.
Let me go on record. There's
very
nothing that's been
rational,
said so
100%
far on this side of the
I'm
table
emotionally
that I
stunted and
necessarily
socially
disagree with on
awkward.
any level. And sometimes it's been C-Link.
Yeah.
As per our last email. See this link. Okay.
It reminds me of a meme.
Do
That's
the
why-
needful.
Do the needful.
Was it propone?
Yes.
Propone the needful.
Yeah. Prepone.
Prepone
Prepone.
the needful.
Prepone. Yep.
Yep.
Meeting's been preponed. What? First time I ever got that email. I was what's going on?
Basically, we can boil the whole thing down to it's really difficult being in a social situation in a social game with people who tend to be antisocial, and we all need to figure it the fuck out.
But people are hard. Title of your sex tape.
If we knew how to people, we wouldn't be playing other roles.
If we knew how the people, we wouldn't be doing this.
That's how you bring
I'm
it
sorry.
down.
I'm sorry. If we knew how to people, we wouldn't be papering people. Because we're papering people.
Yeah.
Okay. Like and subscribe. Join us next week. AFK After Hours.